Well, Timex here says it's 9:30, so we'll call this meeting to order. Certified open meeting law requirements been met with proper posting and notification. We have a 11-item agenda. Looking for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded. Motion by Tolson, seconded by Barb. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes, you've had those in your possession for a while. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, looking for approval?
Move to approve.
Moved by Brett, seconded by Townsend. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Public comment period. The number to call is 715-538-1770. We'll give you a couple minutes, and if you should happen to think of something you got to call, just go ahead and call. That way we could keep moving. Give them 1 minute for now. The number again is 715-538-1770. They have nobody there to answer the phone if they call anyways. So, why don't we just go to item 6? And they can still call if they want. Discussion and action regarding updates on project schedule and bid back timing.
Okay, morning everyone. Just want to give you a kind of a brief overview on where we're standing with bid pack number 1. We're finalizing and coordinating the front end of bid pack 1, which is footings and foundations, excavation, and then the site utilities that are inside the block. This isn't street utilities. This is just utilities that are underground for us to get that footing and foundation package. We're anticipating having that ready to go out to bid, meaning hit the street for contractors to get those documents by the end of this week. We will work with Paul Severson to get that coordinated with the publication locally. We'll also advertise that on iSquareFoot and at other multiple locations. We do have a database that will go out to contractors as well. So if there are any of you locally that have contractors that are interested in the project that you may know of, and you want to share those with us, feel free to get them to any member of my team, and then we'll make sure that they get invited to the bid process. So what will happen is we will issue those public documents. Contractors will receive them, and then we'll have a pre-bid meeting date, and we're still nailing down what day that will be, but it'll probably be one day next week, where then contractors will be able to come on to the site. We're going to give them basically a presentation on what the project's plan is, how we would look to proceed with the project. We're going to go over ODIP, that Owner Direct Insurance program. The county was awarded that program about a month ago. Was it a month ago, 3 weeks ago? So we do need to explain to the contractors what that all entails, because it's a little different delivery than most projects, but it's a presentation to them as to how they have to fill out the bid form, what that does for their workers' comp program, and then we'll give them that information. They can also look at the site, walk around there. Not that there's a lot to see, because we've removed most of the goodies that are on the site, but at least they'll see what they have to deal with. And then we'll have a public bid opening. So it'll probably be in this room. And when the bids come in, we then read them aloud. Once we read those bids aloud, then our team will go back and qualify those low numbers. And what the qualification means is to make sure that they have all of the scope included in their number, to make sure that they meet the ODIP requirements, and then just to make sure that they're in compliance with all the specs. And after we've done that, then we will bring those bids back to the property committee for recommendation, and then the property committee will take action to approve those contracts. Once that's done, then we will finalize a contract with the contractor, and then work will actually start. So all of that process will take about 3 to 4 weeks from the time that we issue the documents out to the street until you'll start to see dirt turned. But we may have to have a property committee meeting that's off schedule to be able to do that, so we don't have a delay. So that might be something that we have to talk to Chuck about, and we'll work on that for the June property committee meeting. So we're still on track to have bid pack 2 out late June, early July, and that's going to be the balance of the work for the Justice Center. not the renovation portion of the balance of the campus. That's going to be a later bid package that will go out. But then the balance of that bid pack will go out in late June, July, and then that's going to be the balance of all of the work, all of the mechanicals, the electricals, the masonry work, all the finishes, all those other numbers will be in that bid pack too. So, questions on that?
Yeah, any questions from anybody? Hearing none, we'll go on to item 7, discussion action regarding closing of Park Street.
Yeah, really no action for this committee, but the action was taken before by the property committee here at the county, and then the city took action on it. So that agreement has been approved, and it is in place. We do have, I believe, a 21-day waiting period before we can actually start to close the street and do all of those sorts of things. But we're not to that point at all. We will make sure that there's proper notification made to all employees, proper notification made to all of the community members before we do that. But the agreement is in place between the county and the city. And what that boils down to is we're going to relocate all of the utilities that are in Park Street, outside of Park Street. Some are going into Hobson, some are going in to Main Street, some are actually going into an easement in the green space around the campus. But that's all going to be done through the course of the project. So the long and short of it is that it's basically finalized. It's just a matter of the next steps in order to close that.
Do you have any comments on the parking?
Question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that separate bids then for the utility part of it?
Yeah, yeah. We will have the utilities, the underground utilities that are under the building and then out to the curb line of the block across the street in that bid pack 1, but then the street utilities will be in bid pack 2.
Okay.
So I'm hopeful that it's the same contractor, that gets them in both, but there's no guarantee that that will be the case. So.
Okay. Action on the ODIP? Is there anything?
Just an update, and I just thought that maybe I could give you all a brief understanding of what that is. I know we've talked about that, and I don't know if I've given you enough explanation on it, but what it is the county holds a workers' compensation insurance program specific to this project. So anyone that works on the project, any tradesperson that works on the project is required to be a part of that workers' comp program. And it's based on documentation that we get from the contractors and forms associated with the bid packages, and it's specific to this project. And what that entails is that the dividends, the amount of money that's paid for those insurance premiums, if it's a safe work site, then those dividends can come back to the county. And we've seen a pretty significant number on projects that we've worked on that's actually come back as a dividend to counties of over a couple $100,000. So it does require a safe project. So there's some requirements that we put in the bid documents in regards to performance from contractors. It's in compliance with OSHA standards and above and beyond, just to make sure that the people that come here, the tradespeople that come here, go back home the same condition that they arrived. And that's important to us and obviously important to the county in regards to how we're approaching the project. So, Randy?
Do you have a guy in Samuel's group that's going to oversee that also? So
Yep.
if there is something going on that doesn't look quite...
Tad is actually going to be on site all times as a superintendent, but we also do have a safety director, Matt Fisher, that comes here periodically and does a site audit. And then Vance Forrest, the gentleman from Aegis that was here, he actually comes another day. So we've got multiple hats that are continuously looking at safety. And the way that we do it is a team approach. So we actually will bring the foreman from other contractors to identify any unsafe acts that they've seen, so that it's holding everybody accountable. So it's just not one person. But to answer your question, we're going to have multiple people doing that on the
Good.
site.
Good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not. Parking during construction.
I did have preliminary discussion with the church to the south, and I did get feedback that they're open to allowing county staff to park in their parking lot at certain times during the day when they don't have church functions. So we haven't worked out those details, but the initial discussion has been had. And before we do close Park Street, we want to make sure that we have all of those details worked out. Now, I think what we'll want to get from them is a schedule of when their church activities take place so that we could get that to your staff. But I would recommend that staff park there rather than public or our tradespeople, because then the staff can have like a consistent location where they're parking. They know what's happening and that we can comply with the church and its members, because we don't want to cause any issues there. We want to make sure that we're working with them in harmony there. But I don't recall the number of stalls. Jeremy, was it like 20 stalls we may pick up? And it's not going to take care of all the Park Street issue, but it will help. You may want to discuss, and I think we kicked around it briefly in some of our design meetings, is that we may want to gravel a portion of that green space that's on the southeast corner of your site there just during construction, and that's something that we can explore to give you some temporary parking that's in there. Again, with gravel, it's not ADA compliant. There's some issues associated with having gravel there, but it's better than parking in the grass, and it may be something that we need to do. So we're just going to have to monitor that. Jeremy?
Yeah, and I have some stuff that I'll be bringing up for property at the next meeting.
Okay.
With that green space that you're talking about
Okay.
up front, and a few other options that I'm hoping will be
Perfect.
Short-term and long-term solutions to some things.
Okay,
So,
perfect. So I think Jeremy had told me it was like 40-some stalls that are right along Park Street we're losing, and then also the ones that are in the parking lot are even more than that. So we're not covering all of them, but some individual will have to park in the shared parking lot across the street there. We're going to hopefully have all of our tradespeople park, either on the site or somewhere down the street from the site, so that they're not using this parking stalls for the public and your staff. But parking will be a challenge, but we'll have to work through it together and come up with solutions. So.
Will you be setting up a designated county contact person between the church and
It's a good idea.
Trempealeau County? Because, so if they have something, for example, a funeral.
That's a good idea.
That
Yep.
contact person can let all county employees know, hey,
Yep.
no parking over there.
Yep.
I'll assume that will just fall into my.
That would be great if you
That
were
would
the
probably be
contact
Jeremy.
person.
It's always Jeremy.
Yeah, that would be great.
I nominate Jeremy.
You're welcome, Jeremy.
That's fine. I kind of figured, because especially with the church, with not knowing on a week-to-week basis if there's going to be a funeral
Yep.
or something like that, that they can let me know, then I can reach out, just send an all-staff email, hey, no church parking
Yep.
Wednesday of this week.
Yep, that'd be
something like
great.
that, so.
Good idea.
How much space is left in the city parking lot across the,
It's been filling up, and what I've been told is that the construction project with the hospital is supposed to be starting later this year, and that might become more crowded.
Yeah,
So-
they'll be losing their employee parking spots that are in the rear of the hospital.
Which is 40.
Yeah, so they'll be losing those as well. So, yeah, it'll be, like I said, you talk to the city, there is that lot over by the gazebo across the street, a lot of the parking on, whatever that, there's by Holton's, that street there is usually empty during the week. I mean, there's parking where the construction workers will have to walk a little bit more.
Right.
But, and then if anyone's interested, I will rent out half of my driveway, 20 bucks a month.
That's a block away, it might be,
Yeah.
it might be closer than.
Just like at the Packer game,
$20 a month.
Well, that's for employees.
just like a yard at the Packer game, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or Badger game.
So is it safe to assume that once Park Street starts getting tore up, then that back parking lot will not be accessible anymore, correct?
Yeah. And I will have Tad and Jeremy work on that communication to staff before we just ta-da do it. But it'll be a coordinated effort. But yeah, what's going to happen in that area is that when we start to tear that up, you could potentially still park in there, but there's a risk of having people come into a construction area. So we'll just have to figure out how we coordinate that. It'll be a while yet. I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow. But, by the time we get this thing bid out and we get mobilized, we'll start on that west end and work towards Park Street. So we've got some time. It's just, it'll be here before we know it, though. So. Okay?
And just a thought on the parking too, and Jeremy, maybe you've thought of it, but if you have staff that have handicap accessible, you'll have a parking for them.
We've got the one on the side of the street, but as it sits right now, I don't have any staff that, well, I have one that works in the jail that routinely will park in the handicap stall, but the other two employees that I know that normally park there, I haven't seen them since
Okay.
April of last year, so.
I think,
But
Sam- Better
yeah,
say.
we can make concessions for for that, whether I need to set aside the one that would be in the sheriff's parking lot now by the dumpster, or there is the ones on the street, but I can't put a handicap accessible in the front of the building. So in if it needs to be van accessible, like for Pam, I think it was, then it would have to be, I'd have to take a spot from the sheriff on that side, but that's something that I'd work out with him and someone else as needed.
Do they still have that 2-hour parking limit out in front of the courthouse here?
On the main street?
On the main
Yeah.
street?
It used to, because I've gotten tickets before parking there.
I think it was just you, I've
Yeah,
never
that-
heard of it.
So what good does it have to have 2-hour parking then?
They just give me
I don't
a
think so,
warning,
because
but.
we have
but-
people park out there all day for a court hearing, and they've never gotten a
Yeah.
ticket.
Yeah,
So
I have
it
no
must
s-
have just been you.
Yeah, we have no signage
I
in front of our
haven't
building
parked
for
there for a
that.
long time. but-
People know your truck, John.
But anyway, no, there used to be
Either
like a
April
2-hour
1st,
parking limit,
Maybe.
but they never give me an actual ticket, just a warning. So this is supposed to be a 2-hour parking spot. Anyway, so the other question I got is, schedule the next meeting. Are we gonna continue this committee, maybe meet once a month just to keep the public up to date, or
Well, that was my question.
otherwise we're turning, but basically over to the property committee, because that can meet much quicker, and so, yeah.
Are we going to, once construction starts, are we gonna maintain this committee, or are we gonna push it back over to property and let them carry it from there?
Well, that's what I kind of felt like I was duplicating information
Yeah.
to property, to board, and then to this group. I think the reason that this board, or this committee was formed was really to identify the need for the project, to right-size the project, and then to move the project to the board for approval. And I think the committee has kind of accomplished its task. And now we're at a point where, from a design decisions and dollars and cents decisions, it's going to come from departments, and then the property committee ultimately is the one who has the elected officials there making those decisions. I would almost think that the committee, we would still want you to be involved in the project because you guys have a vested interest, but that they could attend the property committee meetings to have input and to kind of get updated. Everybody that is here is still invited to those design meetings and will be through the balance of the design, and encouraged to come to the property committee meetings, but I almost feel like it would be a duplication that we could meet at property committee meetings if everyone's comfortable with that, so.
Just one comment is, I know Judge Radke had alluded to a Supreme Court rule that said we had to have a kind of an oversight committee. Was this committee kind of formed for that too, Judge?
The property committee can comply with that. It's just a matter of how they view that, so.
I see the judge is thinking back there, so I'm waiting for a comment.
And then would this committee be needed for any of the renovation project for the existing structure?
I would think that would come back to property. Typically, what I've seen with the building oversight is that it's kind of an ad hoc committee, like you have been, ad hoc committee that has a common goal to be able to present or finalize something, and you've done that with the project, but yet the decisions that are tied back to approval of the project, you guys haven't made decisions, you've made recommendations to property, and property takes action on it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it, it's just that yeah.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, so.
Well, is there anybody opposed to just going to property, and then we won't have to have these extra meetings?
I guess, Judge, do you want to check to make sure that we're in compliance with what Pat would want to see and?
Yeah, I think we addressed that with creating a subcommittee in the security facilities
Yep.
committee, and was talking about the security, and that was more of the design piece, which was already behind us.
Yep.
But I'll double check that. I think that's satisfied, but I'll double check.
Okay.
Okay, so then we won't schedule another meeting at this point?
I guess before we,
Cancel the ones we have, you mean?
yeah, before
We do have some set.
before we end the committee, though, I want to just thank everybody, because it's been great having all of you a part of it, and comments and discussions, and please attend the property committee meetings. I know you're all busy, but it's still going to be essential. You're all going to be part of the design, so you're going to be involved in it, until we're done with the project, but it's been very good. And I don't think Jeff or Nate are on there, but they've been very instrumental as well, and other members. Is there anybody that's dialed in right now?
I don't see anybody dialed in, but I think, you know.
Nate's on vacation, I believe.
Kurt,
I had
or-
discussion with him
okay.
earlier this week,
I
so.
don't know if
These,
Kurt's on there, or?
Property meeting, our WebEx meetings anyway, so they could join the WebEx.
Okay.
So would we just disband the committee or just not meet unless
Well,
needed?
I would say we're not disband it entirely until the project's complete. You never
Yeah,
know, something might
right.
come up.
We think just
Yep.
cancel the meetings for now, and if we need to schedule another meeting, we could.
Judge Radke.
Yeah, I was just thinking, this committee was created by the county board by resolution.
Mhm.
Has anybody looked at that resolution to see what the extent of, or the length of this committee? And then, so that might tell us the answers to some of these questions.
I can do that.
Did we achieve that task that's in the resolution? Or do we need to run this by the county board, full board, saying, we're going to shift this now to property committee and let that be their decision rather than our own committee making that decision? Just a thought.
Yeah, the way I understand, and I agree with you, I think what I read from the board resolution was for the review and approval of the project. You know, the details of how far they want that to be, I think it might be something we take to property and then ask the board. That'd be a good way to do it. But, you know, at this point, we can just
Yeah, I think
hold
that's
on
good.
any future meetings. And
The other thing was to get public involved, and
Yep.
and that really worked for that. It was a great job of putting this through. So,
Good.
like I commented the other day, we get more hassle over masks and than we do over a $43 million project. So I think that's kind of amazing. But anyway, so we can leave the committee together as of now. We just won't schedule another meeting until, and it's not that hard to schedule one, just as long as we got 48-hour notice or something, so.
sounds good.
Okay,
All right.
and that we can adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.